So another important aspect of working with Exchange Online is that if you're going to use PowerShell, you need to be able to connect to Exchange Online somehow. That requires a remote PowerShell connection. So for starters, if you're going to make one of these connections, you need to make sure the execution policy for the current session is not restricted or all signed. So you're going to run a set-execution policy remote signed command in order to make sure that it's not restricted or all signed. Then you need to open Windows PowerShell and type the following. For starters, you need to enter your credentials. So we'll type in a command that will allow for a pop-up window that will ask for our credentials. Then we need to initiate a session with Exchange Online. We need to import that session, and then once that's done, we can actually start working within PowerShell connected up to Exchange Online. When we're done, we're going to remove the PS session. Now, this may seem a little bit complicated, but that's okay. Remember, you can do a quick search on how to make a remote PowerShell connection to Exchange Online. You can pretty much copy this information right from TechNet, and you can paste it right in. So you don't have to worry about memorizing this. Just simply know that you need to be able to make a remote PowerShell connection, and so a quick search will pull up all of this information for you. Just follow the steps. All right, and so here we are. We have Windows PowerShell opened up, and we're going to establish a remote PowerShell connection. Now, keep in mind, earlier we opened up PowerShell, and we ran a few get-service commandlets, and that was pretty easy. We didn't need to do anything special with our Windows PowerShell. But notice in this case, we've opened it up as an administrator. So you basically right-click on the application, click Run as Administrator, and you should see that up in the actual title bar up at the top. So at this point, we want to set the execution policy first. So we're going to type set EX, hit the tab key. It brings up execution policy. We type in remote signed, and we hit enter. It basically confirms with us that we really want to make this change, and we hit yes. And it's done. Now keep in mind, if you did not run Windows PowerShell as an administrator, it would give you some red text and tell you that you have to open it up as an administrator first. So no harm. If that happens, just open it up as an administrator and then start over again. Okay, so we have this part done. Let's put in our credentials for Windows PowerShell. We type the $ user credential equals get-credential, and we hit enter. You see it brings up a dialog where we can enter our credentials. Once we've done that, we hit OK, and we see nothing. That's actually a good thing sometimes with PowerShell, because when you do something wrong, you see red text. When you do something right, oftentimes you see nothing. So things are good so far. Now we need to initiate the PowerShell session. In this case, rather than type the whole thing in, I actually just copied it and pasted it, and my expectation would be that you would do the same because you don't want to make any errors. Oftentimes when you try to do this and you type every little thing out, you basically can create errors by doing so. So looks like all is good in this respect, and now we're going to import the session. Notice it's saying the number of commands that have been received. It's giving you information that we're creating an implicit remote module. And here we go. There's some yellow text there on the screen. Yellow is a warning and oftentimes informational text, but it's not red. That's the key here. And it indicates that we have actually connected. Now, how do we know that this really worked? Well, let's do a test or two. Let's type get mailbox, hit enter, and notice it comes up with two different mailboxes, the Discovery Search mailbox, which is something that we haven't really talked about, running in the background there, and the J mailbox, the j@conversationalgeek.onmicrosoft.com. There it is. It indicates the server name, which in our case that doesn't really mean anything to us because we can't really touch the server, but it's good to see that, it's good to know it, and it indicates the prohibit send quota. Now from here, we can run all sorts of commands against our Exchange Online solution. We can obtain a lot of information by running get commandlets, or we can actually make a lot of changes using set commandlets. So there's much we can do here, and we don't really have the time to go through each and every command and commandlet in order to show you everything you can do with PowerShell. You might be thinking, however, look, if I can do this through the GUI, I'm going to do it through the GUI. I'm not going to do the whole remote PowerShell connection and go through these efforts. And that's fine. That's the value of Exchange Online as well, is that it's meant to be easy. The behind-the-scenes stuff with PowerShell is not necessarily something that every Exchange administrator has to be exposed to. However, there are times when you may have to jump in, do the remote PowerShell connection, and make an adjustment. Now, just one example, deleted item retention. This is something we haven't really discussed, but anyone who's worked with email for any period of time knows that you have the ability to, if you delete an email, and you delete it permanently, so it's not sitting in your deleted items folder, but you've really deleted it. You have a period of time where you can reach out, grab that email, and bring it back. And that's something that end users can do. So the CEO of the company deletes the email, the CEO can go out and get it back. But it all depends on the deleted item retention time. Now, the default for Exchange Online is 14 days. The maximum is a little different from what we have on premise. The maximum is actually 30 days. But let's say you wanted to make a change to the deleted item retention time. Well, unfortunately, there's no way for you to be able to do that through the Exchange Admin Center. And that's because you're not able to touch the server, which is where those settings are. However, you can make this change through a remote PowerShell connection. Let's run a quick test on this. So if we run get-mailbox, let's look at J's mailbox and pipeline that out to a formatted list of retain deleted items for. You can see that in the case of J, deleted items are retained for 14 days. Now we can use PowerShell to change this in bulk for all the mailboxes in our organization. If we wanted to change it for just J, let's say, we would type set mailbox identity J retain deleted items for, and we could change it to 30. And again, if we don't see red text coming back to us as a result of whatever we just typed in, that's a good thing. That typically means everything is good. But let's just make sure. Let's just hit the up arrow to go back to commands, and let's see if, yes, indeed, things have changed. So now the deleted item retention for J is 30 days. And if you wanted to do this for multiple mailboxes or all of the mailboxes, you can just type get mailbox and pipeline that out to a set mailbox, and then alter the retain deleted items for, and put in the number of days you desire. Keep in mind, the default is 14 days, and you can go up as high as 30. So this is your introduction to the administrative side to Exchange Online. You had a chance to see the way we work with the Office 365 Admin Center as well as the Exchange Admin Center. And you had an opportunity also to learn a little bit of PowerShell if you didn't know much about it before. You learned about the Show Command Logging feature, which is built right into the Exchange Admin Center. And we discussed and actually established a remote PowerShell connection. So we hope you found this informative. I'd like to thank you for viewing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.